Zendaya and Tom show young couples how to do it right. 85-year-old man arrested for racing at 100 miles per hour. North Carolina HOAs skyrocket and dangerous TikTok Benadryl challenge. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, that's how you work it, lady.
All right, hey girl. So welcome or welcome back. Let's go ahead and get into this. Okay. So boy, how much do we love Zendaya and Tom? Oh, they are just literally so sweet. They are goals, like literal goals. As far as how they have handled like their dating and everything like that, they've been very private. Recently, we did get a peek at them on the red carpets. They are currently doing a global press tour promoting their upcoming joint projects, which include Spider Man, Brand New Day, and Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. During the interviews, they've been speaking a little bit more openly, but still very carefully about their relationship, especially after Tom recently confirmed they are married and emphasized how grounding it is to work and live together. So this is what they shared with the Guardian, and I think the way that they're doing their relationship is great because they're a young couple and they are staying out of the public eye. Um, being just a young couple in general is not easy, but then you add the whole Hollywood thing, which could be very weird and very stressful and very crazy on top of it. And I think that they're doing a very good job of navigating the waters. First of all, have you noticed a lot of people like now when they date, it's like, oh, I'm young, so I have to like do all these things. And then I'll get married when I'm like 50. Like that's how people think. And then they wonder why when they get 50, they can't find a mate. And if they do, now they have to do like IVF and all these things. Like if they want to do all that, like so why do that? Like, what is the point of running around and dating a million people? Like, what is the actual point? People think that that gives you like life experience. I mean, it just, in a way, it doesn't. Women and men walk away from these casual relationships just feeling so, bad and having low self esteem. And then they take the trauma from that relationship into the next one. Most people don't work on healing themselves. So it turns out to be more so an accumulation of bad experiences. And then by the time they're like 30, they're already cynical and angry and hate the other gender. When if people would more so have an approach to a relationship like this, I don't really even know of them dating other people they may have. I don't remember Zendaya talking about other boyfriends. I don't know about Tom having other girlfriends. Like this seems like a couple who like this may be their first of a lot of things. We know it's at least their first marriage. Not sure if it's their first relationships in general or not, but these are people who were pretty young when they got together and they're still together. Now they've taken the next step of getting married and they're doing things not completely traditionally, but a little more traditionally, and it seems to really be working for them. And I'm this is just something that I am also noticing is like I feel like when we were little, it was like the whole like don't get married, and it's still like that. But now we're also seeing a shift with people who are transitioning back into more traditional, like, hey, don't date a million people, and hey, don't have sex with a million people, and like be more guarded and be more discerning and try to just find that person and settle down. Like people are starting to talk like that again. And I think that's going to be a really good thing for a lot of people because I just don't see the point of hopping from person to person, increasing your trauma, increasing bad experiences, not being serious about the relationships. Like people just have a casual view because they're like, oh, I'm young. So by default, that means this is just not a real relationship. By default, you should expect bad behavior because I'm young. By default, expect, this is not a long term thing. This is just casual. And that to me is weird and has always been weird to me. And I think that's why we're seeing this loneliness epidemic that we see in society. That's why we're seeing people just really unhappy. That's why we're seeing people who are 50 plus and still not settled down and then having some regrets on certain things, you know. So I just think that people just have to like embrace, you know, this is it's good when we can just kind of be serious about things straight out the gate, you know? These two, Thomas and Daya, could have been like, "Oh, we just met on set. Like this isn't real. We'll just talk to each other and all this, but this isn't a real relationship." From the very beginning, it seems like they've taken their relationship pretty seriously. So, you know, I think that's a good thing. So, just kind of more on this, some of the things that they've said. They both describe this era as their safe area. They are all about supportive partnership. They still intentionally keep most of their personal details out of the public eye. We don't hear or see too much about them. Like Zendaya will pop out, you know, do a fashion week here or there. She will promote a movie, and then we don't hear anything from her. Same thing with him. And I think if you're going to do the Hollywood thing for people who's, you know, live their lives in a way that that's appealing, like this, the way they're doing it is the way to do it if you're about that, you know? So for me, I just, it's just all too much for me. But, you know, I think they're showing that despite some pretty like heavy challenges of living in the public eye, they are at this point making it work. I appreciated this that Tom had to say. Um, he basically said, he would step away from acting when he has children, prioritizing family life over Hollywood. I believe that is something that they both said, but I do recall him saying that as well. So, like, this is a young couple that's already thinking about having children. You know, they're thinking long term, they're thinking down the lines. And it's just like, why is that not what everybody is doing? Like, what do you think life is about? You know what I mean? It's like there's a cycle to life. It's like, you know, have a little fun, settle down, have some kids, have a nice life, the end. Or if you choose to not have kids, you know, do something meaningful with that time, you know, and the end. But there is a cycle to it all. You know what I mean? And it's not saying that a couple has to have kids. I think it's great for people to have kids. I think it for me, it's just added so much more richness and love to my life, you know. And then as things goes on, you know, you have this future generation and all that. Um, to me, just being, you know, not having the kids, it's like, well, what are you doing this all for? You know, when you're done, your time is done. You can't take any of your accomplishments with you, but you do leave family behind. So it's like, you know, if you have good relationships with that family, then, you know, they talk about you and have warm, fuzzy feelings. And, you know, you have this cycle of life that just kind of continues on, even well past us, you know, for the time being. I'll say that. So it's like, you know, this is a beautiful thing. I just think that they're doing such a great job on, you know, just like being private and having a real relationship and being young and super cute. I love their interaction with each other too. I also notice in interviews they're very respectful of each other. Like they're not like, you know, sometimes you see people in an interview, a couple, and then like when they break up years later, you go back and they, of course, the internet shows like their past interviews, and you're like, yeah, that was a bad sign in an interview. Like none of their interviews are cringy or like weird. You know, they're just very, you know, chill and like professional. You know, like they're just doing such a good job, and I just think they're such a good example. Now, I will say this. One thing that I think they should be very careful about since they are in Hollywood is I have seen that a lot of these celebrity couples do break up sometimes over movie roles, like when there is nudity involved, when there is explicit scenes involved. I don't think anything like that has happened here. Like they seem to have some pretty clear boundaries about like what they will and will not do in films. Although I could have sworn I saw one film from one of them. I ain't gonna say no names, and I thought I saw some partial nudity, perhaps, but girl, I don't actually know what I'm talking about, and I could be 1000% wrong about that. But if that was the case, I was kind of like, please don't start doing that because that's really gonna put like a stain on your relationship. Like some people can say whatever they want. Oh, it's just acting. It's just this. It's just that. But when you're seen on screen, or in any way, kissing somebody else and, these intimate scenes and all that, it could be challenging to work through that with a mate. So it's like, why even put yourself in that? And it just opens the dialogue of, there's so many movies that you can do where you don't even have to even kiss the other actor or be intimate. And I'll give you an example. Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz had a movie. I think it came out early this year. Oh, it was like a spy movie. What was the name of it? Let me pull it up because I want to say the movie right. I don't want to mess it up. And then okay, so let me just. Oh, it's called Back in Action, and it came out in 2025. In that movie, they never kiss each other or do anything like that even one time. And they're playing a married couple and they have kids, and it's kind of like a spy movie, whatever. It was kind of a cute little movie. Um, but I like that because Cameron Diaz is married, I believe. I know she has a couple kids, and she had basically kind of like retired out of doing films. Like she just wanted to kind of fade from Hollywood. She was like, I'm over this. This is dumb. Like, but Jamie Foxx is a good friend of hers, and like I believe, if I am remembering correctly, he specifically asked like, hey, I know you like aren't in Hollywood anymore, but would you do this movie? And she's like, yeah, sure. So but in that movie there was no kissing on the lips, there was no intimate scenes, there was none of that. And I'm like, this whole notion in Hollywood that you have to do all of that is just false. Like you don't have to do all that. There is such a thing as leaving some things to the imagination. So I think we're probably going to see similar actions, hopefully, from Tom and Zendaya because they are very much about their relationship and safeguarding their relationship in every way. So I think that, this is, a great way to start. And again, right now they're promoting these movies that they're in. I need to see the trailer for this new Spider-Man movie. Like until doing this, I had no clue that there was a new Spider-Man movie coming out. So I'll have to check that out. If you guys have any tips on this movie or when it's going to be out, or if you think it's worth watching, drop it in the comments on podcast or on YouTube because I would love to know. But some other things I want to talk about with Zendaya and Tom is, again, they're a great couple to highlight because they're young and they're maintaining stability and even being successful. Both of them have successful careers, and sometimes if there's a dynamic there that's not matched, that could also be a problem. But even that, they're able to navigate, very well. And again, because we don't know every detail about their marriage, I think that's a good thing. And I think we need to mind our own business. Like when people come out and say, hey, I just kind of do my job as an actor and I'm private, I like don't pry too much. Like I'm talking about this because this is information that they put out. He shared that they got married. I don't know if there's any pictures yet of their wedding online. There may or may not be. I don't know. But if they don't put them out, don't dig for them. Give people their privacy. Like I do think we have to kind of like start to like chill and stop pressing these celebrities so much because they are people, like it's not that deep. Now, another thing I will say about this too, about them, they don't constantly post about their relationship. And by doing this, they reduce external judgment and that keeps them focused on the real life and connection that they're living instead of online validation. And I'll contrast that with someone like, I hate to say it, I hate to be putting people on the bus, but like we all remember when Meg Thee Stallion was posting with Clay Thompson all the time. I do recall hearing from another YouTuber that that was something that he did not like. And if you were really looking at the pictures, you could kind of tell that he was not that into that. And that's something that's very girly. Like certain girls always want to like, oh, this is my man, this is my man, or this is my husband. And I will tell on myself a little bit. I used to be like that a little bit just because it was just my way of like, oh, I just love this guy so much. And look at how much fun we're having. But I have taken a long backseat to that. I have not posted anything like that in literal years because like it's just unnecessary. I've just like reduced how much I post, period, because I am moving towards more privacy. Like I'm not putting myself out there like that anymore. So I have a couple of posts that I'll do a couple of times a year. And I just leave it at that and keep it moving. I'm not posting us every second. I literally have about 5 dates on my calendar where, hey, these are occasions where we will post. Like if we have a nice family vacation photo, I'll post that. But other than that, that is it. It's not, hey, I'm posted at the store with my man for no reason. Hey, we having dinner. Da, da, da. It's just too much. It just is literally too much. Um, so that is another thing that they do well. Another thing that they have also talked about in interviews is that they both emphasize wanted a more grounded life beyond fame, and they're both very much aligned on that in terms of their goals. So you have to pick, even as a young person, you can pick someone that has similar goals. If you're dating someone who is all about attention and they want to be like famous and they just want to like everything about them out there and you're moving more so towards privacy, this is not the person for you. Like it just isn't, just hey, right now this isn't a good fit, later on if things change, um but it's not a good fit. Now, what the best thing to do would be to have a conversation about it. If the person feels like, hey, this is something I could compromise on, yeah, you're right. I never thought about it. Like posting all the time probably isn't a good idea. And they're truly 100% from their own heart on board with it, that's fine. But if they keep showing you otherwise, like, hey, you know, um, yeah, sure, I don't want to post all the time. And then they post all the time. That's telling you that that's not really how they feel, right? Like they are about the attention. So then you have to make that decision like, yeah, I know we talked about this, but you're still like posting us all the time and it ain't a good look. So I just noticed guys like more privacy for the most part. Most guys do not want to be posted all the time. They just don't. And I think that that's actually a good sign of a more like maybe grounded man, maybe even a little more emotionally mature man, that they're not always trying to post. Because some men, if they want to post all the time, they don't have their mind on you. They're like, oh, I want to post so some other girls may see me. And meanwhile, they're not into you like that. So I want to share all these things with people who are especially dating or newly married, like that's something that I have some experience on. So these are the things that you want to look out for. These are the things that you don't want to do. And this can be true for young people or people who are older and are in a new relationship. So either way the shoe fits, hope it helps. All right. All right. So moving on from the lovely Zendaya and Tom. Zendaya is very cute too. And she cool. Like she just seems like a person who's comfortable with herself and it's just like, yeah, like she just seems very cool. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. Um, let's talk about this 85-year-old man who is out here speeding at 100 miles an hour. So this is a viral story where this little man is out here racing at 85 miles an hour. Um, Typically, authorities treat street racing as excessive speeding and a serious traffic offense when it involves reckless endangerment on public roads. Um, this incident sparked social media debate because what it did was raise the question about elderly driving safety, um, with strong reactions on both sides. Some people saying, like, hey, I'm not that worried about it. And other people saying, hey, time to sit down. So I kind of feel like, for the most part, they need to sit on down somewhere. I hate to be that person because I hate an age shamer. I literally despise an age shamer. Like, people who age shame are not nice people. In this situation, though, we do have to be honest and being like, okay, when is the cutoff? When is the cutoff? Like, when do we start like giving some more restrictions? Maybe we limit the times that some people can drive. Maybe we limit, the distance, or maybe we limit, I don't know, but this is what it could look like. Some places do have like things in place to kind of assist elderly drivers, such as them having to come back and get their driver's license renewed more often. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a sec, but I feel like if you are older and people are kind of starting to take notice of the fact that you're still driving, you need to ask yourself seriously, like, am I okay? Like, do I still have sharp reaction times? Can I move my foot from the gas to the brake quickly? That's the main thing. Am I able to still see well? You know, um, Now, truth be told, there's some 85-year-olds out there that are lifting weights and are in great shape and are in better shape than some 50-year-olds. So, again, this is not about necessarily an age thing, but it is about like, hey, can we like keep an eye on ourselves? Can we check for these ones? Can we make sure they are okay? Because I've also had instances where I've almost been run over by some older friends. Okay, I remember one time I was in the parking lot, and this very sweet sister, and she literally did not see us, and she literally almost backed into me, my husband, and my new baby. We had to run out the way, y'all. It was not a good look. Um, Thankfully everybody's okay, but girl, I had to go ahead and do a little sprint real quick because old girl was about to take us out for real. And she could barely see over the steering wheel, and it was just like, oh. Now the funny thing about it was she was actually the mom of a friend that I knew. So I was like, girl, your mama almost took us out. Like, girl, check on your mom. Like, so that kinda, like, it was fine, it was totally fine, but then, just a few weeks ago, guys, I heard of this poor guy. He was, like, in his 90s, and he had, a lot of health issues going on, one of which being a brain tumor, and he accidentally ran somebody over at the mail house, and the person ended up losing both of their legs. So, see, when stuff like that happens, it's kind of like, okay, why don't we have more things in place to monitor people who may have issues with driving due to advanced health issues or advanced um, age? Like, we need some of these things. Now, I will also let you in on a very cute thing I overheard. I was eavesdropping at the library the other week. It was kind of hard not to eavesdrop because I was looking for my books on the book sale, and these little old ladies were talking, and it was a small room, so I was listening in their conversation. But the one, it was like three of them, and the one worked there, and she's like, "My kids have been on me, and they're telling me not to drive, and you know what? I don't want to upset my kids, and my kids love me, so I still feel like I'm pretty good, but they're offering to drive me around. They don't give me any problems. Anytime I need to go somewhere, they come and they pick me up immediately. So, I'm going to just, I still have my driver's license for an emergency, but I don't drive myself anymore because I respect my kids and I know they want the best for me." And I thought that was such a mature, like, this is showing that this woman probably does not have dementia and is still got her wits about her and is doing really well because she's like, "You know what? My kids are helping me. They're willing to help. Why stress them out?" Let me just go with it. And I thought that that was really great. And then another lady chimed in and she's like, "Yeah, same here. Mine live pretty close, so they come and pick me up and they're just really good. So yeah, they also got me this like device to wear, so if I fall, I don't think I need that, but sometimes I wear it, sometimes I don't, but I at least want to give them the idea that I'm listening, a hearty heart. They thought that was funny. I didn't think it was funny because I was like, nah, them kids probably worried about you and they thinking you in there wearing your monitor and you sitting up somewhere with your heels kicked up, you know doing backflips or whatever you doing in there, girl. But anyway, but at least she was listening enough. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, that's fine. And then here come the third one. The third one was the hot mess. She gonna say, our kids just need to understand we're adults and we raised them and they don't have the right to tell us what to do and blah blah blah. And I was like, see, you don't came up in here and messed up the whole thing. These two nice little old ladies were like, on the right path and you're like derailing it. I literally was like, don't say anything. Like I was forcing myself to shut up because I was like, this is not like what they need to hear. But she just went off how she ain't listening to her kids, honey. And it's all good and blah da 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 da. And I was just like, see, though they probably are very upset with their mom and like are fearing for her safety. And she's like not taking their feelings like seriously. It does make a difference if, you are asking your parents to do this. You do need to provide that support. You know what I mean? Either you need to take them yourself or like pay someone to drive them or sign them up for some type of service or something. But, you can't just tell people to sit at home all day and be old. That's not nice either. People deserve to live the quality of life that they want to live at any age. You know what I'm saying? Especially if the parents are able to walk and they've got their wits about them, I don't see what the issue is. So that was just an example, of like what is the consensus? Like what do the older individuals feel? How do their families feel? And then I wanted to kind of look up like, okay, are there any restrictions in any states on this? And unfortunately, yeah, and I did not dig hard. I just did a quick little search. Unfortunately, no U.S. state requires an annual mental competence testing or physical competence testing just because someone is older. And I think, in my personal opinion, that is a failure. We're going to see more and more people getting hurt by old folks out on the road, um, because we're not putting safety in place, right? We know the calamity that this could cause. Why not conceal ourselves by like doing the right thing in advance, right? So here are what a few states have. Some states have shorter license renewal periods for seniors. So if you're a senior, you have to renew your license every 2 to 4 years. But that to me sounds standard for everybody. So to me, they should have to renew their license every 6 months because cognitive decline can happen very quickly, guys. Sometimes if you're over the age of 80, you could be good one day and out of it the next. And so I think at least 6 months of having them come back into the DMV and renewing is a good thing. Mandatory vision tests are a thing in Cali. That they do have to do that, and I do recall seeing a poor little guy. He was trying so hard. He was at the DMV, and they're like, "Okay, sir, can you see that?" He was like, "Yeah, I can see it. Hold on, now wait a minute. Let me take another look. I can see it. Yeah, I can see it." And I'm like, "This little man cannot see this. He is having vision." They're like, "Well, sir, do you have any other glasses that you could wear? Anything else?" "Oh, yeah, I got it. I'm good. Now I'm good. Now just give me a minute." It's like he knew where it was heading and he was trying not to have it go there, which I get. Like, you got to fight for your independence, man. You got nobody wants their independence taken from them. I get it. I get it. Um, but yeah, I think that this is something that should, like be a thing, but it's not a nationwide thing. So, hopefully they will change because people really should, in my opinion, at about 50, people should be being checked for their mental and their physical when they're driving because while 50 is not old. 50 is literally not old. I have seen 50-year-olds with cognitive decline and they can't use their bodies as well. They've already got all early onset arthritis. They can't pick up their foot fast and move it from one pedal to the next. And that is going to cause an issue. And maybe that will encourage people to take better care of themselves because no 50-year-old or even 60-year-old, and I would even argue 70-year-old, should not be able to drive. Like, I feel like all the way up until 70, most people, if you take care of yourself, you are going to have your wits about you and your strength about you, and you're going to be able to drive with no problem. Once people start getting into the 80s, that is when I would say, kind of across the board, it might be time to reevaluate. But again, some people are going to reach the decline point early, way early in their 50s, and some people might not reach that point until they're 90. Everybody is different, but I think that putting the testings in place can certainly help. All right, let's move on to the next. Y'all, it's about to come to this right here in North Carolina over these HOA fees. HOA fees are jumping in certain parts of North Carolina, like crazy. So this person, some homeowners are reporting increases from roughly 350 a month to about 1250 a month. Let me tell you something. If someone were to increase my HOA from 350, which I've had a 350 HOA before, and they took that and moved it up to 1200. Like, why press people like that? Why put people in a situation to have retaliatory anger? Why put people in a situation to it's just not a good idea. So here's the weird thing about this, guys. Like, I kind of looked into this just a little bit. Residents are saying about this situation that they, were not warned that this was a thing that was going to happen. And they're saying that, some of these places don't even have finished amenities and are mismanaging the money. And so this is basically like a cash grab for some of these HOA companies. Some HOA companies are nothing but scams, y'all. I be getting so heated about HOAs. They're reporting that in newer neighborhoods in North Carolina, residents allege limited transparency during early management phases. So they weren't transparent about what these costs were going to, or what the HOA could increase to, or anything like that. Um, then, of course, there's this issue of underfunded reserves. They're increasing these prices because they're saying they don't have enough money to do things like road repairs and roof repairs and utilities and things long term. So then why wasn't that figured out when you did the initial budget? I just don't understand. I just don't understand. Going from 350 to 1250 a month is enough where someone would have to put their home up for sale. Like, most people don't have an extra, several $100s laying around to make up the difference with this, and people will have to put their homes up for sale, and that is 1,000% literally wrong. So, what they're encouraging people to do is to research the HOA before buying a home and see how healthy that HO is financially. Now, they are supposed to um, release all of this information ahead of time. They're supposed to release their financial reports, like, how much goes to salaries, how much goes to fixing the road, how much goes to gardening, how much goes to maintain the pool. All of those are records that you can pull. And if I were you, if you're trying to buy a home in North Carolina, I would take them to a maybe an attorney, but at least an accountant, and say, hey, look at this and tell me, does it seem like these people know what they're doing? Because the last thing you want to do is buy in a neighborhood where you could risk losing your home because they're going to jack up the HOA. And And again, there needs to be some laws in place about how much HOAs can raise their rates because, like I said, at present, there is no nationwide limits, and even in certain cases, state limits to how much an HOA can raise their fees. And that to me is very strange. So again, every state is different. Some places have more laws around this than others. So this is not a one size fits all, but this is a problem in some states. And it's a hot mess, y'all. Like literally, it's a hot mess. So again, um, no, there are no strict universal caps. Most U.S. states, including North Carolina, do not set hard legal limits on how much an HOA can raise dues, increases, and all of that is usually governed by the HOA documents and bylaws themselves, which to me is very scary and terrifying. Now, I like living in a community that has an HOA because I have seen some communities that don't have HOAs and it shows. Like you'll have a lot of crazy neighbors who never mow their lawns or they've got a million junk cars around and they've got like 80 dogs and it's just not a good look. So I do prefer to live in a place that has an HOA. However, if you're trying to escape an HOA, I would recommend just buying land on the side of the road. That's my thing. I'm like, if it doesn't work out and I ever have to leave a community that's an HOA, I would try to find land that's just off by itself and at least I'm the only one there and I can make my place look good and I don't have to worry about anybody else. Only thing that stinks about that is, girl, you better have your own pool and have your own, companies that's going to maintain like the little road to get to your house or your driveway. If you live in an area where there's snow, you got to pay for your own snow removal. So it is going to also cost you certain things, you know, um, throughout the year. However, most people are finding that they like that more. They rather be off on on a piece of land by themselves and have their own rules. They'll put in their own above ground pool and call it a day. Or if you got the money, girl, dig your own pool because that's what I would do. I would get out there, look, go to Home Depot and get me about 8,000 bags of cement. And I'll be out there and I would get to pouring and mixing and make my own pool out there. Y'all know where there is a will, there is a way. Okay. So, much love and support to the North Carolina peeps being hit with this because it is not fair and it is a hot mess. So, I hope this situation gets resolved, peacefully without any of this because jacking somebody's HOA up that much on top of their mortgage that they have to pay is enough for it to turn to that. And that's not what we trying to have happen. So, okay, last one of the day, guys. Have you heard about this very dangerous TikTok uh challenge? It's called the challenge, and it refers to this dangerous trend on TikTok. This is often teens that are encouraged to take excessively high doses of Benadryl, okay, to experience hallucinations. This is not safe. It is not medically valid and has led to serious harm and death. So, what the way that this works is the drug blocks histamine, but at high doses, it can cause confusion, delirium, and vivid hallucinations. And that is what they think is so funny and why they want to do this challenge. Side note, you never want to do anything that causes you to hallucinate. You are getting yourself into that realm of being out of your mind, out of reality, and you put your body health at risk. You also put the use of your mind at risk, and you also open yourself up for let's just say negative spiritistic extras, if you will, people, not people, but um, things like that, paranoia activity. You don't want to take yourself there. It is not funny to be in that zone. And I think more people need to understand that being in that place is not a good place to be. So, this basically causes severe poisoning. Hospitals are reporting that teens are arriving with dangerously high heart rate, seizures, overheating, and severe agitation after overdosing. Um, Diphydramine, which is Benadryl, it is something that can trigger very serious cardiac events, arrhythmias, which could be very life threatening, as well as irregular heart rhythms. It can affect the brain and have lots of other issues, including memory loss and keeping you in a long term delirium, which you don't want. Um, Unfortunately, at this point, there have been multiple instances of, unfortunately, young ones passing away. In Oklahoma, a 15-year-old girl was declared brain dead after overdosing on Benadryl, with reporting liking the incident to the viral challenge behavior. In Connecticut, officials confirmed 3 child deaths from Benadryl overdoses, though they stated there is no confirmed direct link yet to the TikTok challenge. Across the U.S., poison control centers report that teen um, Benadryl use exposure calls have more than doubled in early 2026, suggesting increased misuse tied to viral trends. So it is a big problem. I wanted to talk about this because a lot of us here on the podcast are moms, and we're always trying to like keep up with our little ones and make sure they're okay. So definitely, it's you just got to be careful. Like, you literally just have to be careful. Be careful what type of information your kids are watching, because they want to be a part of these trends. And it's just not a good idea. So try to keep your kids off of TikTok as much as you can. Do not allow them to take any challenges. Like, just we have a note. My kids are not at that point yet to where they're old enough to do stuff like that or even know about it. But when they get to that point, I'm gonna have a no TikTok and no challenge rule, because I've also seen stuff like this. They used to have a chubby bunny challenge where you stuff marshmallows in your mouth, and a bunch of kids died from that. All kinds of things, and so we're not doing no challenges up in here. And I would definitely put the same rule in place. I also would, be very careful with some of your drugs that you have in your home, like your Benadryls, Tylenol, all that stuff. Keep it under lock and key, especially if you're having like kids come over. Usually, when kids get together, that's when they want to start wilding out and doing all this crazy stuff. So, in situations like that, definitely keeping the kids, um, away from anything that could be a challenge or harmful to them. So, yeah, guys, that one was pretty sad. So definitely, maybe ask your kids like, "Hey, have you heard of anybody doing this?" And just kind of let them say what they say. Just because sometimes as a parent, it's good to like allow them to express what's happening instead of just like confronting them about things. And you'll be surprised what you hear. That seems to work a little bit better for me when I'm just like, "Hey, what have you heard about this? Do you know anything about this?" And it just kind of opens the conversation without accusation or like, anything like that. So, all right, ladies. Well, hey, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Hope you found it helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's important. Welcome to Work It Lady Podcast, where it's time to put in the work regarding educating yourself on all areas of your health and well-being. At Work It Lady Podcast, we are dedicated to empowering women to take control of their health and mental well-being. Our mission is to provide women with the knowledge, inspiration, and tools needed to transform their lives, from improving nutrition and fitness, navigating womanhood, and if you're a mom, excelling at motherhood. Step 1, like this episode. Step 2, share it with someone you love, and even the haters, they need help too. Step 3, subscribe on podcasts, subscribe on YouTube, join our mailing list to stay in the loop on classes and events. I am so happy you made it here, girl. Thank you.